What do you make of this? Is this just yet another story in order to undermine the Prime Minister, or is this something that is really serious and we should be worried about?
Well, actually, I do think it's really serious, and I don't think it's about undermining the Prime Minister himself, because the Prime Minister is not accused of any of these threats. Actually, this comes from a much wider group, and indeed all the parties that have been complained about. The Prime Minister was probably not even there at almost all of them, but there was a wide group of people at the top who seemed to think the law doesn't apply to them, the normal rules don't apply to them, and they can do what they want. And that's not how our democracy is meant to work.
Yes, OK. I mean, Boris Johnson obviously has had form in the past when it comes to this stuff. There was the rather famous Darius Guppy phone call with Stuart Collier, wasn't there? Just give him a couple of black eyes. And there's no indication whatsoever, anything at all, of a physical nature Boris Johnson's done here. But look, you'll know better than most, frankly. You know, whips, aren't they? And this stuff can't be that outrageous. This can't be that unique, surely.
Well, quite frankly, I think the idea that you would threaten an MP with action that would damage their constituency if they vote with their conscience on a policy that they believe, or a piece of legislation that they believe is wrong, is beyond what any normal democracy should do. Now, I understand the whips have often difficult jobs, and they need to persuade MPs. And this isn't even about offering an MP something for their own personal gain, which of course itself would not be normal in any workplace, but it is threatening their constituents and trying to force an MP to vote against what they believe is right. And MPs are elected to represent their constituents. Clearly, they also belong to a party, and the issue of party loyalty and voting with measures that the government promised at the election, that's very important. But whips need to persuade MPs with the arguments and the rationale for what's being done. And if that can't be justified, and it's not something that, for example, was in the manifesto that the MPs stood on, then surely our democracy needs to ensure that MPs are not frightened to vote against pieces of legislation.